Do you ever think about the people who just missed out? Like, I think about, imagine a gay couple that would have gotten married, would have spent their lives together, had all the benefits in law of getting married, but didn't and died a couple of years before they legalized gay marriage. Or the black person in America who got killed under slavery a few years before it was abolished. Or the woman who died from a pregnancy that she wasn't allowed to terminate a couple of years before they legalized abortion. I think about those people. I think about the people that missed out on something because we didn't do it just a few years earlier. And the way I see the fight for a fair voting system is kind of that same way. Because it is eventually going to happen. Martin Luther King said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The idea that we're all going to simply accept that we live in a system where the majority of votes don't count for the rest of time simply isn't going to happen. We will eventually get to a fair voting system. The question is when. And so if you know that it's going to happen at some point, you have to start asking yourselves, how many people are going to just miss out because we didn't go fast enough? This morning, as was just said, Neil Kinnock, the former leader of the Labour Party, he did say he supports proportional representation, but he qualified it by saying, but that's a long way off. For me, the thing that annoys me the most in politics is people who say, oh, but we've got to wait a long time for that. You've got to be patient for that. No, the biggest barrier to progress ever is the people that say, you can't quite do that yet. They're the ones who are the real barrier. Because if we think about what proportional representation would change, everything. Because when I think about all the things that I care about, from climate change to what's happening in the Middle East, to equality in the UK, to Brexit, to all the things that all of you here care about, wherever you are on the political spectrum, all those things would be drastically different. I'm sure you've seen the group online called Proportional Commons, which calculates how different UK policy would be if we had a fair voting system, if the seats in Parliament matched the votes of the people. Like, for example, I think by about 63%, the majority of people in the UK want to tax the rich more to help people out of poverty. The majority of people in the UK want to ban the sale of weapons to countries that are using them to commit atrocities. The majority of the UK wants to rejoin the EU. The majority of the UK has been silenced for pretty much the entire history of the UK because of our voting system. Because if you live in a system where a party with a minority of the vote always gets majority control in Parliament, then that means the majority of votes that went to the other parties have no effect on policy. That is not a democracy, hence the T-shirt. And that's why I think that's the conversation you need to be having with everybody in your lives. Whether it's your co-workers, your family, at the dinner table, at the kitchen table, all those places, have that conversation. Bring up the topic of, sprinkle it in during the conversation. Oh, well, because the UK isn't a democracy, obviously. And they'll get upset like, oh, you can call UK a democracy. Of course, great, we've invented democracy. And that's how you start that conversation. Well, the majority of votes went to parties that have no say in government. Right now, Keir Starmer has 64% of the power of only 34% of the seats. Of the votes. That's not a democracy. So when you're pushing for this, keep in your mind's eye the people who will just miss out because we didn't push fast enough. Because right now, as was just said, the majority of people want a fair voting system. It is our job to give it to them. Thank you.